So when we talk about batteries, let's talk first about safety. You should buy one of these, or you must buy one of these, especially if you travel. It's a LiPo bag, and especially when you go to the airport, they love to see when you basically have your batteries secure. Buy one of these, super useful. Okay, you have three types of batteries. You see, usually you have like 4S batteries, you have less common 5S batteries, and you have like 6S batteries. I will take out 5S batteries because you only or mostly see it with racers, because you have more energy than with a 4S battery, but you have less weight than a 6S batteries, and yeah, it's a sweet spot for racer, as I've seen, so I take it out. That's because it's a special case. What does S mean? It's stacked cells. So 4S means you have basically 4 cells, which gives the output power. Whereas on the other side, with the 6S batteries, you're going to have like 6 cells, so 2 additional ones. You can also imagine that like people pushing a car. Here, you have 4 people pushing a car, so you need more power per person compared to when 6 people are pushing the car. And that's exactly what that tells us when you fly with FPV. If you want to do punches, fast acceleration movements, if you have a 6S batteries, the power which each cell has to deliver is a little bit less. That's why you have a more uniform power consumption line. So if you do punches with a 6S battery, it's more uniform at the beginning, and at the end it's like going down. Whereas if you do massive punches with a 4S battery, you can literally see that the power consumption curve is going down. So yeah, because each cell has to, you go literally harder on each cell. The trend, as I said, is going towards more 6S batteries, heavier, more expensive, less heavy and less expensive. Let's talk about the numbers you can see on the batteries. So if you see 100C, that's the C means the discharge rate. So if you have like 120C, that means that this battery can discharge pretty fast. If you have, for example, a battery with like 70C, that means that battery cannot discharge as fast as this one, meaning that you can like basically provide less power. I would say what I would recommend you for like a sweet spot is like everything from 95 and above. So for example, for my long range, I have these batteries by Tattoo, and it's 95C. Why do I have it? I need like a lot of milliamps, but I don't need the crazy high C, because I'm not going to do massive punches or like fast accelerations, or I'm going to fly super fast, which I need for racing and hardcore freestyle. That's why I can go with a lower C. On the other side, what you have to consider when you look at the number is like the milliamps. So milliamps, that's basically how much juice is in your battery. So you have like 1,800, you can have here 1,400, and yeah, here I have 1,550. So what does that tell us? I would say if you go with the freestyle quad, you can go between 1,050 up to 1,800, 2,200. And what I have learned, if you want to do freestyle, I definitely recommend you to go with a 1,050 milliamp hour battery, because you need less flight time, but you need a lighter weight, because when you punch, then you need less power to accelerate your drone. So that's why you don't fly as long, you need less weight, and you can like do nice punches. And if you, for example, if you would do like freestyle with 1,800 milliamps, there's like a lot of extra weight which you have to accelerate, which is just like not ideal. If you want to do long range, you want to have like more milliamps, and because you don't do these crazy punches, it's not going to affect you that much. That's why, for example, for my long range, I have this 6S battery, 1,800 milliamp, so pretty big. And back in the days where I did like long range with my 4S, I had this 1,800 S 1800 milliamps 4S battery, and you can also literally see like the difference between 6S and 4S here, like next to each other. So I would say for my long range, I use 1400 milliamps hour for, I would say, up to 2-3 kilometers. And if I want to go crazy far, I use this 1800 milliamps. If I want to chase a car and I want to go fast but still far, I use this 1400. And if I don't have it now, if I really want to do one particular building, I want to go up really fast and then dive down or do a massive power loop, I would prefer 1050 milliamp. Yeah. Now let's talk about charging the batteries. So first of all, it's connected to this number, 1800 milliamps. So how do I have to charge my battery? If I have a 1800 milliamp battery, you have to divide basically the milliamps through by 1000, and then you get the amps. So what does amp mean? Amp is like the current, which goes like into the battery, and that's literally how you measure it. So you take 1800, you divide it by 1000, you get 1.8, and you have to charge it, and you have to basically select that in your charging device, 1.8 amps. I'll give another example. If I have here a 1400 milliamp, I divide it by 1000, so I charge this battery with 1.4, and we call that you charge it with 1C. We talked before about the C, the discharge rate, and of course if you fly, you fly for 4 minutes and then the battery is empty. That's because you discharge with 120C. If you charge your battery, you charge it with 1C. That's why it takes 45 minutes to up to an hour to charge it. So again, you take the milliamps, you divide it by 1000, and you get the charging of 1C. So 1.8 amps, 1C, and with the 1400, if you divide it by 1000, you get 1.4 amps. So that's charging with 1C for this battery. Last example, 1550, it's 1.55 amps for charging with 1C. And that's basically the healthiest way to charge a battery. You can also charge the battery with 2C, which would be then 3.6, but it's less healthy for the battery. So if you have like a big client and there's a lot of money and you don't really care about your batteries, but you more care about the speed, I would just charge it with 2C. But you have that with the more C you charge, the more you have to take care of it, because yeah, it doesn't need much and you're basically going to burn a battery. So, and the other thing is the 4S battery, you can see here the description, it's like 14.8 volts. And if we talk about 6S battery, 2 extra cell, as I said before, you have like 22.2 or 22.5 volts, and you also have to put that in your device. So you always, when you charge batteries, have to define the volts. For 4S, 14.8, and for 6S, you have to basically select 2205 volts or 2202 in the device. And then the other thing is, like I said before, the amps, so 1.8 or 1.4 or 1.55. One other thing is like if you want to charge parallel. So what is that thing? You can literally connect 4 batteries to this thing, and you can basically charge up to 4 batteries. How can you do that? First of all, you need one of the charging devices which actually can deliver the power to charge 4 batteries. The worst can happen is that it just doesn't take 45 minutes to 1 hour to charge the battery. So we said before, with 1C, you charge 45 minutes to 1 hour to get the battery full. If your thing only provides, let's say, 2 amps, but you have like 4 batteries, you need way more. You need 4 times 1.8 amps. That means, and if the device only gives you less amps, it just takes 2-3 hours to charge the batteries. But the idea of that is, and that's really important, if you're not careful with parallel charging, you're going to burn your house or your apartment, or you're going to destroy your battery. So how do you do that? You never ever combine a 4S battery with a 6S battery when you charge parallel. You only do it within the same group. So you should also not take a 1400 battery, a milliamp hour battery with a 1800. Just to be safe, stay within the same class. So I say, okay, I have like 4 of these battery, so I charge these in parallel. Or I say, okay, I have these type of battery, 1400, and then you change like 4 of these in parallel. And how you do it is you connect it like, yeah, minus to minus, the same as you would do it like here. First, you connect like the sensor cable, all 4. And then once you have it, you start connecting one by one the power cable. And also important is when you charge these, make sure that the voltage you have on the battery is not more than like 0.2, 0.3 volt difference. That means if this battery is fully charged, it has like 25 volts. And if you have like a 6S battery, which is almost empty, you can have like, let's say 21 volts or 22 volts. And you should never charge batteries in parallel, which are very different from the volts. So what you do is you measure battery, it says 2202. You take the other one that says 2203. Okay, they're within 0.2 volts difference. Then you can charge them in parallel. If you then find the battery, which is like 2305, which is like more than a volt more, then you're not going to charge it, because what happens is, because the other battery is almost full, you have like more energy going in, and you're going to burn that battery. So again, only charge 6S battery in the same class, so same milliamps, with not more than 0.2, 0.3 volts in difference. So, and it can be that you only charge up to 3. And then how you do it? So I said you connect all your batteries. And if you charge in parallel, that means that all the batteries which are connected to that piece, they're like one big battery. So imagine you have like one big battery which you charge, because you charge them like in parallel. So that means if you have, let's give an example. You have 4 batteries with 1400 milliamps. We said before, if you charge them with 1C, it's 1.4 amps. You have to charge it. Now you have 4 batteries. So you have to multiply the current times 4. So you have 4 times 1.4 amps. And that's literally what you have to do here, because these 4 batteries become ones, and you have to basically select the voltage. So you have 4,000, then you have 5.6, basically 5.6 amps, which you have to put in your device. And the voltage stays the same. So that's really important. When you do parallel charging, if you have 4 batteries, the voltage is the same for all. So you basically select 2205, 2202, like whatever it tells there, like for 6S battery, and for 4S battery, it would be like this 14.8. You basically enter that in your device, and then you multiply the current times the battery. So you would have then, as I said, 4 times 1.4 volts. You enter that number, and that's how you charge it in parallel. And at the end, first you disconnect the power cable, and then you take out the sensor cable. And keep that in mind. Never like mix batteries, never mix milliamps, and especially make sure that you not charge a half full battery with the empty battery. They should always be with 0.2, 0.3 volts difference to be absolutely safe. Okay, let's talk about the charging device. First of all, what you have like to pay attention is you have to look at the amps this power like charger can like basically delivers. If you want to parallel charge 4 of these batteries, and we say it's 4 times 1.4 amps, and this only can give you 2 amps, it takes probably a couple of hours until you have your batteries fully charged. Make sure that you invest in a more expensive one. Otherwise, you end up like me. You buy 3 different ones. First the cheapest, then the second cheapest, and last the most expensive. It's also useful to buy a charger which can charge us up to 6S batteries. So you can charge 4S batteries and 6S batteries. If you buy a charger which can only go up to 5S, you're never gonna charge a 6S battery. Otherwise, yeah, and you have basically to literally buy a new device. The other thing is you see AC and DC, so alternating current and direct current, and that's important. So if you have like a charging device like me, AC, you can put it to the power outlet of your house, like you plug it in, and that's the AC. If you have like DC, you need a different charger which first converts AC to DC. And yeah, to have that said, to start with, I would go with a charger. This is this brand ISDT. I will put it in the description of this tutorial. I made a good experience today, like for a decent price, you get really a good charger. And this one, you can also have like charge like 2 batteries independently, and that's the good thing. So you could connect to one, the parallel charger, and then for this one output, you combine all, as said, the same battery types 4 times. And with the other like output, you could charge then a 4S battery, which is very different because these are like 2 separate chargers inside one charger. Here you could charge the 4S battery.